Storytelling Cafe, and it is Friday night or Friday day, depending on where you are in the world. So it is stories for children. And tonight we have with us from Switzerland. She's sitting at this very moment on the top of a Swiss mountain. Would trust me, I'm a storyteller. Every word I say is the absolute truth. And this little chalet on the top of the mountain, and she's got one of those long Swiss, you know, the pictures of the Swiss pipes with the horn in, and she's going to blow down one of those, and out at the other end will come the stories. On the other hand, she might just speak them.
Yeah, I know.
So there's, but before we start, I think we need to just recognise that that today in the country is in Britain is quite a sad day because of the death of Prince Philip, Duke of Edinburgh. So our condolences go out to everybody. But for now, could we please put our hands together and welcome a big world storytelling cafe welcome to Shelley Verma. And could everyone else melt, especially Shelley's dad? Mute, not melt, mute.
So, namaste. I am Shelley Verma, and I am an Indian living here in Switzerland. But as John said, I'm not living on top of a mountain, but I live at the bottom of a hill. Yeah, like a hill and a mountain, that's a huge difference. But anyway, so I grew up in India. Most of my adult life was spent in India. And I am more of a city girl. So I was raised in Delhi, which is the capital city of India. And I had a very fantastic childhood. I was always surrounded by cousins, uncles, aunts. We were a big family, both set of grandparents. And all we did was hang out with each other, play games. I mean, we didn't get to watch TV. I don't remember when we got our first TV set, but really, I mean, all we did was play games and invent stories and just have fun. Now, my nani, who is actually was my mother's mom, she was from a place called Amritsar. Now, Amritsar is a city in Punjab, which I don't know if you know, but it's a state to the north of India. And it's supposed to be a holy city. And so my nani was from Amritsar. And every year she used to make several trips down to Amritsar. And one year she took me along. I think I was 6 or 7 years old. And that was my first trip without my parents, without my sister. And oh boy, was I so excited. And I felt like a big girl. And so we were going in a train all the way from Delhi to Amritsar. I think it took about 7 to 8 hours during those days. And I was very excited. I sat down and we were surrounded, with this other group of ladies. And the train started to move. And then everybody started talking. But they were talking in Punjabi. And I spoke only Hindi. And my Hindi was not even the typical, pure Hindi, but it was a very mix and mash Delhi that it was a very different Hindi. And I had no clue what they were talking about. Now, trust me, sitting in Switzerland right now, my German is not that good. So it happens to me now too. I'm sitting in a train and I don't understand what people are talking about. So going back, hi Louis. So going back to the train, which was going from Delhi, hi Triana, from Delhi to Amritsar, these ladies, they were chit-chatting in Punjabi. And I did not understand a word at all. And I was a very sweet girl. I still am. So I was just smiling, nodding, as if I was understanding each and every word. And then there was this lady who was sitting across to me. And she said, "Do you understand Punjabi?" And she started talking to me in Hindi. She started talking to me about the place that I was going to, Amritsar. She told me about, what all kinds of things Amritsar is famous for what kind of food I can eat there. And she told me lots of stories. And as the train was passing from the city to the fields of Punjab towards Amritsar, she told me this story. And this story was told to her by her grandmother, her Biji, who was probably, the story was probably passed on to her Biji by, her Biji. So it's a very, very old story. And this story is about a boy. And this boy's name was Kuldeep. Now, Kuldeep lived with his mother in a small village in Punjab. More than anything else in the world, Kuldeep loved dhol. You know what a dhol is? Dhol is Indian drum. Once he had heard someone play a dhol in the wedding band, and he had fallen in love with the beats, with the sound of the drum. And all he wanted was a drum. But you know what? He could not afford one. Every morning, Kuldeep would wake up. He would, rush off to finish his chores. He would go and collect dung. Do you know what dung is? He would collect dung from the cow shed next to his house, and then he would shape them into little patties, and then he would lay them out to dry. And when the patties would be dry, he would collect them in a basket and take the basket to the outdoor chulla, where her mother would be waiting, to start the chulla to cook. And the mother made a living by pounding spices, whole spices into powders. Now imagine dried red chilies. The mother would take the dry red chilies, she would put it in her big mortar, and then with her long pestle, she would pound it into chili powder. And then she would take coriander seeds and she would pound the seeds into coriander powder. And then she would sell these powders to the shopkeepers, and that's how she made a living. So when his mother would be at her, Kuldeep, he would sit on the floor and he would take a pot, a metal pot, and he would start playing a beat on the pot, pretending it to be the dhol, the drum. And he would sing. If I had a drum, a big, big drum, a boom, boom drum, my heart would go boom, boom, boom. Wait. Tinga, tinga, lucky, lucky, tinga, tinga, lucky, lucky, tinga, tinga, lucky, luck. And he would keep on singing, and the mother would call, Kuldeep! Kuldeep! Kuldeep, oi, khote! Khote means donkey. That's a term of endearment in Punjabi. And Kuldeep would rise at the third call, and he would rush off to finish the rest of his chores. When he would be milking the buffalo, the beats of the drum would go on in his head. Tinga tinga lucky lucky, tinga tinga lucky lucky, tinga tinga lucky lucky. When he would go to the well to fetch water, the beats would play all the way. Tinga tinga lucky lucky, tinga tinga lucky lucky, tinga tinga lucky lucky. And when everything would be quiet at night, the beats would go on in his head. Dinga dinga lucky lucky, tinga tinga lucky lucky, tinga tinga lucky lucky. Oh, he would love to have a drum. Now, one day, his mother was in a very good mood. So he thought maybe this is the best time to ask. So he went to his mother and he said, Ma, mainu na dhol chahida. I want a drum. And the mother looked at him and she said, Dhol? Dhol ki karna hai? Dhol naal tera peet bharna hai? What are you going to do with dhol? Is dhol going to feed your stomach? Oh, how could the boy explain to his mother the flip-flop flutters that he felt in his heart when he heard the beat of the drum? How could he explain to her the magic that tingled in his fingers with that beat? He just smiled. He didn't want to upset his mother. And then his mother looked at him and she said, listen, I'm going to make pakoras for you. So do you know what pakoras are? Let me explain to you. The mother, she skinned and sliced some onions and some potatoes into rings. And then she dipped those rings into a flour batter. Now that flour was seasoned with salt and all the spices imaginable. And then she slid it into sizzling oil and she made fritters. The smell of pakoras drifted into his nostrils and his mouth was watering. He loved the pakoras. So he ate a few and then he had a plan. He decided to, he just took the pakoras, the rest of the pakoras, and he put them in a bundle of cloth and he slit the bundle into his long pocket and he went off to the market. And it was a long way to the market. And as he was walking, he heard a cry of a little boy. He looked and he saw that there was a little boy who was strapped on the back of a potter woman. And the potter woman was just standing with her wares, waiting for someone to buy some pottery. So the boy, he went up to the mother, to the woman, and she said, Sat Sri Akal. Sat Sri Akal means namaste, hello. And he felt so bad for the boy. He took out his pakoras and he gave one to the boy. The boy ate it, very tasty. Then he gave the other one. Then he gave the third one. Then he gave the fourth one. And the little boy, but, and he smiled through his tears. He was so happy. The potter woman, she kissed the back of Kuldeep's hand and she said, thank you so much. You're so kind. And she said, listen, I don't have any money, but I can give you a pot. You can take it as a payment for your pakoras. Now, was pot is not what Kuldeep wanted, but he just said, Changa, thank you. He took the pot and went on his way to the market. So now you know he had a pot and he was walking. So he decided to strum his fingers on the pot and he started. If I had a drum. Now, if you remember, you can sing along. If I had a drum, a big, big drum, my heart would go. Boom, boom, boom. Wait. Ding-a-ding-a-luck-a-luck-a, ding-a-ding-a-luck-a-luck-a, ding-a-ding-a-luck-a-luck. And the boy kept on walking. Now the sun, excuse me, the sun was rising high in the sky. His throat was parched, just like I am right now. And wasn't he glad that he had a pot? So the boy, he stopped at a gurgling stream and he filled his pot. And then he was about to drink the water, but then he heard another voice. But this time it was not of crying, but it was of screaming. You broke the pot! It was the last pot we had. And the boy looked, and there he saw that, there was a man, there was a woman who was sitting on the floor, and she was sobbing into her hands, and she was saying, I'm sorry, I slipped, I'm sorry. The boy, he quickly drank his water, and he went to the woman, and he said, listen, I don't need this pot. You can take this pot. The woman was surprised. She said, are you sure? Yes, Auntie Ji, it's okay. You can take the pot. I don't need it. So the woman felt so happy. And she said, oh, I love your kind eyes. And look how kind you are. And then, she was wearing a dupatta, a shawl, which was so beautiful, embroidered with colored threads, woolen threads and flowers. And she took it off and she gave it to the boy. And the boy said, no, 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 I don't need the shawl. She said, no, take it. Take it for your mom. She would love it. I made it myself. I wove it myself. So the boy took the shawl and he went to the market singing. Do you remember the words? You can sing along. If I had a drum, a big, big drum, my heart would go boom, boom, boom. Wait. Ding-a-ding-a-luck-a-luck, ding-a-ding-a-luck-a-luck, ding-a-ding-a-luck-a-luck. And the boy was walking, singing, when he passed a man sitting on a white stallion, a horse. And the man saw the boy. And he said, wait, boy, what's your name? Kuldeep. Kuldeep, wait, where did you get that shawl? He said, I got it from a woman, a washerwoman. And he said, listen, I have been looking for something like this for my sick wife. You know, I bought a dozen shawls in the market, but she didn't like any. This she would love. Can I please buy it from you? Now, Kuldeep really wanted to give the shawl to his mom, but he felt bad for the sick wife and he said, here, take the shawl. You can have it. And the man was so thankful and he said, listen, why don't you take my horse? I don't need it anymore. You can take the horse along. I don't need it. A horse? What am I going to do with the horse? No, 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 no. He said, no, take it. It's old. I don't need it anymore. You can take it as a gift from me. So the boy was happy. He jumped on the horse. He sat on the horse. Now, he had sat on the horse before, but you know, it's a different feeling to have your own horse, especially a one with a red velvet saddle. So he sat on the horse and he started riding and he felt like a king. His head was high in the clouds. He was so happy. And then he rode along singing. If you remember the words, you can sing along. If I had a drum, a big, big drum, my heart would go boom, boom, boom. Wait. Ding-a-ding-a-luck-a-luck-a, ding-a-ding-a-luck-a-luck-a, ding-a-ding-a-luck-a-luck. And then but suddenly, wait, he heard the sound of a drum. Where was that coming from? And he saw that right ahead, there was a mandap under the tree. You know, an awning supported by 4 bamboo poles. It was a wedding party. Oh, how he wanted to see the bride. So he rushed there. He got there and he could smell the incense, the sandalwood. There was holy fire burning. And the bride was sitting on the side. She was wearing this beautiful red sari. There was a monk tika on her forehead, an ornament. She had bangles on her hands. Her hands were adorned with mehndi. Oh, she looked so beautiful. And there were people playing music, drums and trumpets. People were singing, people were dancing. It was a festive atmosphere. But then suddenly the priest got up and he said, wait, there is a problem, there is a problem. And, you know, Kuldeep was watching all this. And the priest said, listen, the groom hasn't arrived. The groom is missing his horse. The guy who's supposed to get the horse hasn't turned up. Now, if you don't know, weddings in India, you know, people from the boys' side, they go to the girls' side, and groom sits on a horse, and the groom has to sit on the horse. You know, it's a tradition. And he has to arrive at the bride's house like a king. So the groom was waiting for his horse. And the priest said, oh, the stars are going to change. If the stars are going to change, the wedding will be cancelled. And everybody started whispering. The band stopped playing. There was stunned silence. And then Kuldeep said, wait, I can help. I can get the groom. So he got the young man's address and he galloped away on his horse to get the groom. And he came back in no time with groom sitting like a Maharaja on the horse. Now the bride was so happy. She called Kuldeep aside and she said, Kuldeep, thank you. You saved my day. What can I give you? Can I offer you some money? He said, no. I don't need any money. What kind of a boy you are? You don't need money? something, there must be something you need. And Kuldeep was like, can I have a drum? A drum? Yes. Oh, we have lots of drums. And then he called the band and they got all the drums. They were big drums, they were small drums, they were soft drums, they were hard drums, they were drums of all kinds of colors. And Kuldeep chose one which was as green and yellow as the mustard flowers growing in a field in Punjab. And he loved it. He loved it. He gave it a tight squeeze and he said, thank you. And he went on his way on the horse. Now, you remember he was going to the market, right? He had a plan in his mind. Now he had the drum. So maybe he would still go to the market and he would sell the pakoras, and the money that he would get, he would give it to his mom. His mom would be very happy. So he just slung it around his neck and he went to the market. He got to the market. Oh God, it was crowded. It was buzzing with people and flies and mosquitoes. And there was such a noise. And, Kuldeep shouted, Samose, Samose, Samose. But nobody heard him. His voice got drowned in the hustle and bustle of the market. What was he going to do? Then he remembered he had a drum. And, he had never played on a real drum before. So he felt the drum a little bit. And then he started to alternate left and right and left. You have to practice before you get the tune, right? And then he started to play. And everybody gathered around because the beat was so hypnotic. And everybody bought, lots of people, they bought the pakoras. Did I say samosa? Sorry, pakoras. And they bought the pakoras and he got lots of coins and he galloped back home. And when he got home, he told his mom what had happened. And he said, Ma, because of your pakoras, I got my most favorite thing in the world, a drum. And the ma said, no, 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 no. It is not because of the pakoras. It is because of the kindness you showed to the people all along the way. And then his drum and his ma, they lived happily ever after. Now, do you remember the song? Let's try and sing it. 1, 2, 3. If I had a drum, a big, big drum, my heart would go boom. Wait. And that's the end of the story of the boy named Kuldeep. Thank you. Now, I have a very special guest today. And, I was going to tell you another story from India first, but I think I'm going to go all the way to Switzerland to tell you this story that I have for you. Ta-da-da! From Switzerland. This story was, before I tell you the story, I wanted to show you how beautiful it is right now in Switzerland. The flowers are blooming, the spring is here, and I didn't know how to show it to you. So I went for a walk this morning and I decided to collect some wildflowers. I picked up some wildflowers that were growing in the garden, in the forest around me, and I made a bouquet. So this is the bouquet for all of you from Switzerland. Okay. Now this story is a favorite story of mine, and it was actually written by a friend, a storyteller friend who lives in Switzerland. And she published that story as a part of this book. It's called the Monster Book of Switzerland. You see, it lives up to his name. And it was published by Berkeley Books. And when I told her that I would be telling the story, she was super, super excited. So this story is about a man named Peter. Now, Peter was a cowherd. Every summer, he would take his cows up to the mountains to graze on the mountain pastures. And then, every autumn, he would get his cows back again to the valley. It was a hard life. And Peter had two problems. You know what his problem was? First of all, he was very tiny, very small, just like how I am. So everybody called him, teased him, oh, little Peterly. And he didn't like that at all. His second problem was, well, he could not yodel. It's very important for a cowherd to yodel. Imagine your cows are all over, they are probably wearing these cowbells. But how do you call them? You yodel. Now this, what I'm about to do right now, is by no means how yodeling should sound, but I'm going to give it a go. Yodeling, yodeling, yoo-hoo! That was really bad. So when he would try and yodel, he would sound like yodeling, yo, yodeling, yo, well, none of his cows would come back. He would have to run after his cows to get them back. Oh God, every day was the same. And then finally, when he would get his cows back, he would milk them. And after milking them, he would take the funnel which he used to pour milk into the cheese cauldron. He would turn it, reverse it, and then he would call to his sweetheart Trudy, who lived down the valley. His horn playing was no better than his singing, because to Trudy, they sounded like farts and burps coming down from the mountain. So one day, it was a very hard day for Peter. His cows were not coming home. He kept on chasing them down the mountain. And finally, he gave up. He got back to his mountain hut and he had a piece of stale bread. He had some cheese and he went to sleep. He climbed his loft and he slept on the grass. Now, in the middle of the night, he suddenly woke up and he heard a clang of a pot. And he saw that the room was glowing with the fire from the fireplace. So he peered down from his loft and he saw there were 3 men who were standing around the fireplace. The first man, he was huge, he was tall, and he had a big, long red beard. The second one, he was tall, he was thin, like a flagpole, and he was all green. And he just had a little golden pouch around his waist. The third one was white, pale, like a ghost. And Peter could see right through him. But this white man, he held, an end of something long, curved horn made of wood, which was glowing by the fire. And Peter started to shiver. What was that? And then he saw that the man who had the long red beard, he held the pot between his 2 big fingers, and the pot was half full of boiling milk. Then the man in the green, he shook a few drops of red liquid into that pot, and they started stirring it, till it turned into a brew which smelled like cheese, burnt cheese. And while this was happening, the third man, he walked towards the door and he opened the door and he began to yodel. Please, again, this is not yodeling. And he began to yodel. But when he yodeled, it was like the tolling of the bells. It was so sweet. And as he was yodeling, he could hear his cowbells. His cows were coming home. Oh, and then that white man, he stepped outside with his horn and he started to blow. At first, the notes were very sweet, low, but then it started to, get up further and further and further and high, and the sound filled up the valley. And it echoed off the mountains, and the sound that echoed off the mountain weaved in to the new sound that was coming from the horn. It was beautiful. It was sweet. And Peter just froze. He had never heard anything so beautiful in his life. And then the man got back inside. The man with the red beard, he poured that mixture that smelled like burnt cheese, he poured it into 3 mugs. And then Peter saw that the liquid in the brew in the first mug was red. The brew in the second mug had turned green. The brew in the third mug had turned white. And Peter was shaking with fear. And then suddenly the man with the red beard, he shouted, "Peter, come out now. We are ready for you." Peter, he tried to, move back and disappear into the shadows. "Peter, come to me. Come to us." So Peter had no choice. He climbed down the ladder and he slowly, went ahead. And the man said, "Peter, tonight, your wishes are going to come true. You must choose one of those mugs, but you must remember you must choose wisely, because 2 of those mugs, they're not going to be good for you. No. Only one will be." So the red-bearded man said, "Listen, if you choose this red mug, the mug with the red liquid, I will give you 100 cows. And, oh yes, and you will become as tall and strong as I am." 100 cows? Oh, he could marry Trudy next day. Oh, and he could become tall and strong, and nobody would call him little Peterly, little Peterly. And then the green man, he stepped forward and he said, "Listen, if you have that green mug, the green milk, I will give you a farm and I will give you a sack of gold." A sack of gold? Oh, wow, that would be wonderful. His troubles would be over. And, he was just about to pick up the mug with the green liquid when the white man, the pale man, he stepped forward and he said, "Peter, if you choose the white one, I will give you my voice and I will give you my horn." And Peter, he looked from left to right. "Oh, Trudy, I could marry Trudy. I could become a rich farmer." And then he remembered the yodeling. He remembered the sweet, beautiful sound of the horn. And he quickly picked up the mug with the white milk and he gulped it down. And then he looked at those men. The men looked at him. He looked at the men. Uh-oh, did I choose wrong? Oh, I should have picked up the green mug. Oh, I should have picked up the red mug. But then the men smiled and they said, "You have chosen well, Peter." And the third man, the white man, said, "I have been waiting for years and years to give my voice, my yodeling, and my alp horn to mankind. And Peter, here you have it." And they disappeared, gone. And Peter was left standing alone by the fireplace. And he pinched himself. Was I dreaming? What was that? And suddenly he felt so sleepy, slow, drowsy. He got back, he climbed the ladder, climbed into his loft, and he went back to sleep. The next morning when he woke up, he stretched himself awake And he remembered everything. Those strange three men. He climbed down. There was no sign of the three marks. There was no sign that the fire had been kindled in the fireplace. Was it really true? But then he heard his cowbells. And he knew that his cows were there. He rushed outside, and there outside, next to his cows, was the majestic, the beautiful, the long curved Alphorn. And, he touched his lips. Could I have the man's voice? And then he stepped, and Peter, he started to yodel. And it was the sweetest sound. And he traveled across the meadow. And the cows, they nuzzled next to him. They were so happy. And then he picked up the horn, the Alphorn, and he began to blow. At first, his notes were sweet and low, and then they built up. And the sound traveled through the valley, echoed off the mountains. It was as if the mountains were singing. Now, Peter never became a rich farmer, but every evening after milking the cows, he played the beautiful music of Alphorn to his sweetheart Trudy till the day they got married. And then, they spent their evenings happily yodeling and listening to the joyful music of Alphorn. And that's how Swiss got their first Alphorn. Now, I have a surprise for you. Didn't I say I have a surprise for you? I have a very cool friend who's actually a professor, and he's learning to play Alphorn. And I asked him if he would join us today and, make some music. Let us hear some music, beautiful music. And that's Jonathan Stillman, who was waving at us. Jonathan, would you like to go?
Yes, I will try to do that. So here's the Alphorn. I hope that it's very difficult to do the Alphorn on Zoom because it's very long. But you can see the horn is here. Here's the bell. And here's the other end. And my dogs, of course, they're like the cows. They like the Alphorn. I hope that's enough.
Jonathan, thank you so much.
That was fantastic. And Shelley, I told you at the beginning of the program you had an Alphorn. You denied it. But I didn't know you were bringing your friend. So thank you. That was wonderful. Louis, did you like that? Yeah, I knew you would. Shelley, thank you. Thank you, Jonathan.
You're welcome. Goodbye.
Okay. So I thought, now before I tell you the next story, because, this story is related to, let's just play the game. Let's play a game. Okay? So Louis, you can try and play this game, and all the other children, young children and old children, they can play this game too. So this is a game of riddles, right? You know riddles. I ask you a question and you try and guess the answer. So my first riddle to you is, why was 6 scared of 7? Think, 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 think. Rattle your brain. Yes, Louis, do you have an answer?
I have indeed, sir. Yes, I have. because it's 8, 9, 10.
Okay, that's very good. Mike, you have the answer, right? 2? Do you want to say it?
Yes, surely. 6 was scared of 7 because 7, 8, 9.
Yeah, absolutely, because 7, 8, 9. Yes, super. Now my next riddle to you. Now this is very simple. Everybody has to get it, okay? And if you don't get it, it's also fine. Why did the chickens cross the road? It doesn't get simple than that.
Why did the chicken go straight? Because now should go to the side.
Oh, okay. That's an interesting answer. Does anyone else have any answer? Okay, that's the right answer. Perfect. Now, do you know why I was asking you these riddles? Because my next story is about a king from India, a Raja, who was very, very fond of riddles, of puzzles. He loved to spend his time solving riddles of all kinds, and he was very, very good at it. And he was well known, around for solving riddles and puzzles. Now, one day, he received a package in his coat, and when he opened the package, there was a beautiful box, a wooden box. And when he opened the box, there were 3 dolls inside that box. 3 dolls. He looked at the dolls. They were beautiful. The craftsmanship was fantastic. And, they were carved so beautifully, and they looked identical. They looked the same. And then he saw that there was another slip, a piece of paper inside that box. He opened the slip of paper, and it said, King, Raja. The riddle is to tell the difference between these 3 dolls. Oh, okay. He had a long white beard, just like John. And he was, stroking his beard. Difference. Riddle. Okay. So he looked at the doll again, the 3 dolls, one by one. Same size. They were colored, similarly. They were patterned similarly. The grain of wood was the same. Oh, and then he tried to shake the doll. Is it hollow? Is it whole? All the dolls were whole. And then, okay, then he got, someone to get a weighing scale, and he weighed the 3 dolls. They were the same. And again, what could it be? What is the difference between the dolls? Very, very confusing, very confusing. And he spent a lot of time, thinking what it could be, but he could not come up with any difference at all. And then he remembered, oh, I have a wise man in my court. He said, I'm going to call my wise man. And so he summoned his wise man, and the wise man came, and he said, oh, wise man, the riddle, I have been challenged. The riddle is to tell the difference between the 3 dolls. The wise man, he was learned. He knew everything that you should know. He had been to the library all the time. He had read all the books. He looked at the dolls from top to bottom, left to right. And he shook them. He weighed them. He spent minutes, hours looking at the doll carefully, but he could find no difference. And when the wise men, they don't know anything, they don't say anything. So the wise man, he looked at the king. The king looked at the wise man. The wise man looked at the king. The king looked at the wise man, and the king realized, oh God, this wise man is not going to say anything. Off, he went. Then, what do I do? Then he remembered he had a joker, a clown in his coat. And we all know that, sometimes clown, they come up with solutions. They go to places, these fools that they are, they go to places where wise men don't. So he summoned his fool. The fool came. And the fool came in, and he saw the doll. Oh, dolly. he started juggling those dolls. And the king said, and then again, the king was looking at the dolls. How do I tell the difference? This is too much. This is the first time I'm going to fail. And then he remembered. You know what he remembered? He remembered that he had a storyteller in his court. And you know, sometimes storytellers know a little bit more than the wise man, the fool. So he summoned his storyteller. The storyteller came. He looked at the doll, inspected them carefully, did everything that the others had did, except he didn't juggle the dolls. And then he thought to himself, listen, you know, sometimes the difference is not on the outside. It is inside. And sometimes the key is the ear. So he picked up the first doll, he reached forward, and he pulled out a long hair from the king's beard. Ouch! The king said. It's okay, king. It's important. It's necessary to solve the riddle. And then he fed that long, hair into the ear of the doll. And the hair went in, and it disappeared. The king was looking. The storyteller said, King, he grinned, I have solved the riddle of the first doll. Really? What is it? You see, King, the first doll is like the wise man. It hears a lot. It takes in a lot, but it does not say anything. Oh, you are good, the king said. Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. What about the second doll? The second doll. Pick up the second doll. So the storyteller, he picked up the second doll. And then he bent forward and he pulled out, ouch, another. Sorry, John, not to hurt you. And then he pulled out another fine hair from the beard and he fed it into the doll's ear. The hair went in, went all the way through the head and came out through the other ear. King, I have solved the riddle of the second doll. And what is that? Well, you see, the second doll is like the fool. Whatever it hears through one ear comes out through the other ear. It's the fool. Oh, you are good. Fantastic. Amazing. King. Oh, King said, oh, come on. Let's do the third doll. Tell me what about the third doll? So he picked up the third doll and he pulled out, another, ouch. Sorry, King. Last one. And he fed it into the doll's ear. Now, where was it going to come out from? Can anybody guess? Yes, it went all the way in and it came out from the lips. But you know what? Okay, let's wait for that. And it came out from the lips and the king was, did he solve the riddle? Yes. The riddle is the third doll is the storyteller. Whatever it hears, it has to come out through his mouth. It has to tell. The king said, you are brilliant. But with this riddle, you have left me with another riddle. What is that, King? Oh, you see, when you fed the hair into the doll's ear, it was straight. But when it came out, it was curly. It had a little bit of twist on the hair. Why is that? Well, King, that's easy. You see, a storyteller, whenever he or she hears a story, he or she never tells the story the same way. The storyteller always puts his little spin on the story. And now you have heard the story from India. And when you retell it, you can put your own little twist, your own little spin on it. And that's the story of the king who loved riddles. Thank you. John, how much time do I have?
Well, this is the normal length of a program, but I'm sure no one would mind if you told another story. I can see 3 people, and there's lots on Facebook and everywhere else thinking, will Shelley tell us another story? And the answer is, will you tell us another story, Shelley?
I can, of course. I would love to tell another story. But I could go on. So, this story again is from India. It is one of my favorite story, most favorite story, and it is the story from Panchatantra. Now, there was a king, and his name was Amarshak. And he was a very wise, generous, clever, kind king. And he was respected by everyone else across the world. This king had 3 sons, but these 3 sons were foolish. A little bit, not foolish, but I would say they were a little bit lazy. They didn't want to study. Now the king knew that when he would be gone, his sons would have to rule the kingdom, and they would have to know everything. They would have to be wise, and for that they had to learn. But how do I make them learn? So he employed, he got teachers after teachers, tutors after tutors. But these boys, did they learn? No, they just didn't find it interesting. So the king was disappointed. He didn't know what to do. So he called for an emergency meeting of his ministers. And he said, listen, I am very clever. Everybody respects me. You are all very clever. You are the cleverest men in the entire kingdom. Tell me, what do I do? How do I make these lazy sons of mine, learn, be wise? And, they were like, quiet. Now, who's going to say it? Who's going to tell the king that it's easy to teach 3 blocks of stones rather than these 3 boys? Shh, I'm not going to tell it. I'm not going to say it. And then there was a long, uncomfortable silence. Finally, one of them, he said, King, a tree takes so many years to grow. And so does learning, you see. And then the second one said, oh, and grammar takes at least 12 years. Oh, and science and maths and philosophy and arts? No, good king. Your sons, they cannot learn anything. And then there was this one man who was known for being practical, and he had common sense. And he said, King, listen, your sons, they don't need many years, many years of learning. What they need is a different kind of learning. A different kind of learning, yes. And how so? He said, listen, I know a person, and his name is Vishnu Sharman, and he is a very good teacher. Why don't you call him? I'm sure he'll be able to help you. So immediately Vishnu Sharman was summoned to the court, and the king requested him that, please, can you teach my sons everything that they need to know? And Vishnu Sharman said, listen, king, I just give me 6 months and I will teach your boys everything they need to know. And if I don't, then you can punish me in any way you want. So the teacher, Vishnu Sharman, he took the boys out of the palace and he took them to the forest, to his ashram. And you know what he did? He told them stories. Instead of teaching the boys arts, philosophy, grammar, science, all those subjects, he told them stories. And because he told them stories, the boys, they were so interested, they were so excited that they learned a lot from those stories. Now let me tell you one story that Vishnu Sharman told these boys. And for this story, we'll have to go into the deep, dark jungle where lived the king of the jungle, the lion, and his name was Bharkasur, which basically means the terrible. And he was really terrible. You know what he did? Every day he killed dozens and dozens of animals deers, buffaloes, boars, even the small animals, the squirrels, the rabbits, he did not even spare them. Now we all know that, oh, I know, that's not nice, right, Noe? And so we all know that, lion has to hunt to eat, right? Because that's his nature. But then this lion was hunting more than he could eat. And, he was beginning to love hunting. It was becoming his obsession. And the animals, they did not know what to do. They had nowhere to go. There was no safe place. So they decided to approach the lion. So they all, huddled together and they went to the lion's den. The lion was outside. He was sleeping. And everybody looked at the lion. Who's going to wake him up? He's sleeping. You go. No, I'm not going. No, come on, you go. No, I'm not going. Nobody wanted to go. Then, a little mouse came by and he said, wait a minute, I'll go. And the little mouse climbed the lion and he tickled his whiskers and the lion woke up. And the lion opened his eyes and he saw what? So many animals around me? What are they doing here? What is it? And the animals, they stepped back. And one of them, who was a little bit brave, the squirrel, even though she was tiny, she was brave. She stepped forward and she said, lion, you have to stop your killing. You've been hunting a lot of us. And she was crying. If you do this, none of us would be left. Nobody would be left in the jungle. What are you going to do then? So what do you propose? Well, we have decided, all of us have decided that, we will send you one animal every day. Every day. We know that you get hungry by afternoon. So every afternoon you will have one animal and you promise us that you won't hunt anybody else. Let me think. Listen, you won't have to go anywhere. The animal will walk to your den. You will be laying on your couch. Can you imagine? Getting your favorite fast food delivery without having to pay for it. So the lion said, okay, but if any one of you would try to cheat me, then I would kill all of you, eat all of you. And the animals, they just ran, stepped back, and they ran in all directions. So from that day, the next day onwards, the animals, they started sending one animal every day to the lion. And the lion kept his promise. He did not hunt anyone else. And once again, there was peace and quiet in the jungle. But one day, it was the turn of the rabbit, the sweetest rabbit. And the rabbit thought it was not fair. Why? I don't want, who wants to be killed? Who wants to be hunted? And the rabbit was like, oh, I don't want to go. And he was walking slowly to the lion's den. I don't want to go. But he had to go because, otherwise the lion would hunt all the other animals. So as he was walking slowly, he was in no hurry. He saw something. There was a well. He was curious. So he climbed on to the well and he saw deep inside the well. And what did he see? He saw his own reflection. Aha. And then suddenly, Rabbit, he hurried away to the lion's den. And the lion, as you can imagine, was very angry, was very hungry. Where is my animal? And then he saw the rabbit. Rabbit, why are you late? And look at you. You are so small. You're not going to satisfy my hunger. I'm going to eat you and I'm going to kill all the other animals. The rabbit, he pretended to be very scared. Oh, no. Listen to me. There were 5 of us. Because I'm so small, the animals decided to send 5 of us. And we were, on our way to your den. But as we were hurrying away, another lion stopped us. Another lion? Yes, another lion. And he said that, where are you going? Who are you going to? You know, we said that we are going to our king, Barkasur, and, you know, to be his lunch. And he said, no, he is not the king of jungle. I am not that Barkasur. And when Barkasur heard that, he was very, what? What did he say? I am not the king of the jungle. I am going to show him. I am the king of the jungle. And then what happened? And then the rabbit said, oh, and then, you know, he kept the other rabbits as a prisoner and he sent me with a message. What is the message? The message is that he has challenged you to a fight. Me, a fight. Show me. Take me to that bugger and I'll show him who's the king. And the rabbit said, oh, but you have to be very careful, you know, very, very careful, because he's very clever. He's very cunning. He's built this fort around him and he sits inside. Are you scaring me? Can anything scare me? I am the lion. Take me there now, you little rabbit. And the little rabbit quickly led the lion to the well. Oh, lion, I think he's hiding in his fort. He's already gone there and he's taken the rabbits there. And the lion was so angry, he leaped onto the well and he speared into the deep, deep, dark well. And what did he see? He saw another mighty, ferocious lion looking back at him. So lion, he growled, ah! And the other lion growled back, ah! And he said, I am going to teach you a lesson. Ah! And the other lion, he was not afraid. He was not scared. He growled back, ah! And the lion could not take it anymore. I am coming. Ah! And he jumped inside the well. And we all know what happened. He ended up in a splash and was gone in the well, in the water. The rabbit was so happy. The rabbit, he hopped back to the animals and he shared the good news. And since then, after then, all the animals in the jungle, they lived happily ever after. And that is the end of the story. And so, Vishnu Sharman, he told many such stories to these three boys. And these three boys, they learned everything they needed to learn. And they became three wise men. And that's the end of the story.
Shelley, what a fantastic night.
Thank you, John.
Louis, did you enjoy tonight?
Yes, it has. Yes, thank you, Shelley.
You're welcome, Louis. I hope I did not scare you with my lion's voice.
I'm not scared. I'm not scared of lions.
Triana, did you enjoy yourself tonight?
Yes, of course I did.
Triana is my sister's daughter. Even though I asked them not to come on Zoom, they did.
Triana, do you tell stories?
I write stories, don't tell.
We have a night for young tellers, Tuesday night. If you ever want to tell a story, do join us on a Tuesday evening. If you
Okay.
But it's all young tellers from all over the world. So what have we got coming up? Let me have a look. I had it already here on tomorrow night. We go to an entirely different type of story. Well, something that is absolutely necessary for storytellers, which is food. And we go for a change. Ali normally has to send his magic carpet round the world for us.
Yes.
But tomorrow night we go where Ali is, down in Marrakesh, and Chef Mohammed Asaki is teaching us a dish from how to make a dish, cook along with Chef Mohammed, and that's at 6 o'clock UK time tomorrow, and it's going to be fantastic. So, and if you look on the on the community page, World Storytelling Cafe community page on Facebook, you can see Mike Wood has put all the ingredients that we will need to cook along with Chef Mohammed. And then on Sunday, you're all invited, Manuela, Shelley, Mike, and anyone who may be listening elsewhere, to our worldwide story round. Everyone come and tell a story. Manuela, are you coming and joining us? Yeah, okay. Monday, I've been running a series of workshops with poets from East Anglia. And so there's 6 poets. There's 6 poets from East Anglia. Louis, that's so Louis, East Anglia. Louis is in East Anglia, I know. And so we have 6 poets on Monday night from again 6 o'clock. Tuesday, 1 hour earlier, at 5 o'clock in the evening, we have our young international storytellers. Next Friday, which, as we know, is Stories for Children, we have Georgiana from Romania.
Yeah.
So it's always an exciting week at the cafe. We only have exciting weeks. We don't have boring weeks. So, but for now, could we put our hands together and give a big round of applause for Shelley Verma? And of course, our friend who has disappeared with his Alphorn. Oh, fantastic. What a fantastic surprise that was. Thank you. Thank you, Shelley.
Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you for being there.
And thank you, Ali, for driving the bus.
Thank you, John. Thank you, Shelley. Thank you, Emanuela, Triana.
Bye, Louis. Bye, Triana. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye,
Bye,
everyone. Bye.
Don.
Bye-bye, Louis. See you next week.
See you next week.